How's it going, everyone? Panyo here. Thank you for tuning in to a stripped-down version of After Dinner Mints as we are recording this week's discussion in advance. While we don't have the Discord window on this week's episode, I highly encourage everyone watching to join us on the Art Blocks Discord, which is where basically the entire community lives. I'm talking about artists, collectors, you name it, and people are there to help you out. So if you have an opportunity, make sure you check out the link inside the YouTube description and subscribe to our channel, and make sure that you check out some of our future episodes. Today we have a really packed schedule. I'm really excited for everyone that's here today. First off, we definitely have generative artist and art block founder Snowfro.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
We also have Purple Hat, aka Jake Rockland. Who'll talk about security in the NFT crypto world. We're going to have dbochman, who is probably one of the coolest and most active users on Discord and has such an incredible collection on art blocks.
Hi, everybody.
And finally, we have a really special guest. We have, for those who don't know, who won the Sotheby's 19-piece art block lot auction 3 weeks ago, we have Paddle 141.
Hello, guys.
Cool, and we're gonna get to Paddle 141, dbochman. But first, I want to introduce and just say welcome to Jake Rockland. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to try to answer some questions about security and make sure people are staying safe out there. It's pretty upsetting to see people lose their,
absolutely,
the things they love and lose their money. So hopefully we
definitely. Before we start, I kind of wanted to just give everyone a little bit of a background about Jake. He's a software generalist, former founder, and NFT collector. He's also an Art Blocks factory artist and has released 2 projects on the platform so far, Stipple Sunsets and Patchwork Saguaros. Thank you so much for being here. And earlier this week, and you did the same, we kind of reached out to a bunch of different people in the community, sourced out some questions that people had about security. I'm just going to start knocking them out, and I'd love to hear your input since you have such a big knowledge about all this. So what is your general outlook approach when it comes to security in the NFT world?
Yeah, so I guess I'll just start off by saying I'm not a security expert. I am a software engineer by trade, but and someone who's been in the Ethereum space for quite a few years now, and it's managed not to lose all of my money. But I'm not a security analyst or a security professional. So when I think about security, I like to think about it kind of like insurance. Philosophically speaking, you wouldn't buy a $2 million insurance policy on a $200,000 house. But if you have a $5 million estate, you want to make sure you're at least insuring that to the value of the estate. And so what's really painful to see is people with a multi-million-dollar punks collection that's sitting on a Metamask hot wallet on their laptop or desktop computer. What's a little bit silly is say you have $500 worth of NFTs to go out and buy a hardware wallet that costs $200 to ensure that collection maybe doesn't make a lot of sense. And so, I think everything we talk about tonight is maybe worth taking with that grain of salt. It's the perfect solution for each person is going to look different. And how much caution or precaution you should be taking, depends a lot on kind of how big your collection is or how big the total amount of assets that you're looking to protect is. And as that changes over time, it's important to reassess and think, the collection of ringers that I bought for 0.1 ETH each is now worth 10 ETH each, and ETH is doubled in price. Maybe I should kind of reassess, and it's worth it to spend a little bit of gas to move something to a more secure location. That's kind of my mental framework for how I think about security. And it's not an end destination. It's a process over time that you kind of have to reassess as your situation changes.
Definitely, yeah. I think, just in the past few months, I think a lot of the collectors have maybe amassed a much larger collection. So I think this is super important for anyone, even people that are just starting in the art blocks or NFT space. Can you walk us through, some of the best practices for setting up a new wallet that's intended to be a secure place to store, NFTs, Ether, or just like other cryptocurrency?
Yeah, so I think the important thing is probably like not the list of things to do, but the list of things not to do. But to start off, like I can kind of walk through, like if I was setting up a new hardware wallet, what would I do today? So the first step is like you want to make sure you're buying the thing from a reputable source. I would highly recommend only buying your hardware wallet from the manufacturer that makes it. So I would not recommend buying like a Ledger, a Trezor, on eBay because you may or may not be getting an authentic piece of hardware, and you may be getting an authentic piece of hardware that's been tampered with, or there's some sort of like phishing attack that's trying to trick you. For example, if you ever receive a hardware wallet and in the box there's already a passphrase that it says to set up the wallet with, that's an attack vector. It's definitely a scam, and like somebody is waiting to see something go into that wallet with that 24-word seed, and they're immediately going to drain that wallet. So yeah, the step one is like make sure you're buying something from the people that make it and that you trust the people that make it. I would buy a reputable brand, especially if it's your first hardware wallet. Like I would probably just stick to a Ledger or a Trezor and not buy one of the kind of newer, fancier pieces of technology out there. There's some really cool stuff coming to market, but I would probably just, it's your first time around, like stick to the tried and true thing. You're gonna be able to find more resources about it online and things like that. Cool. So you get the thing in the mail, set it up according to the instructions from the manufacturer. The most important thing there is like the hardware wallet will generate the keys for you. You should never be putting in like a set of keys that you've generated somewhere else. So like you shouldn't be copying and pasting or typing in the keys from the mnemonic from your Metamask, for example. Like you should be setting it up kind of like a fresh install. And while you're doing this process, if you want to be like extra kind of cautious like I am, I would make sure you're doing this in a place where like you don't have cameras set up. A lot of homes these days have like smart cameras. People have cameras inside their house, and like your computer has a camera on it, your phone has a camera on it. And you want to be mindful that you're not like sitting in front of a webcam that very well could be compromised as you're writing down these keywords. The other piece of that is like when you generate these keywords, write them down with like a physical pen and paper. Do not like take a picture of the keywords on your phone. Do not like type those keywords into a password manager. Do not like save them in a file on your computer. All of those kind of digital options are like expanding the attack vector for kind of how you could compromise your funds or compromise your collection. And so, treat those words as sacred, write them down. I personally would recommend like putting them in metal. There's things out there called like crypto steel. You can get if you don't want to go buy something that is easily identifiable as like, I don't know, being crypto related, you can go buy a physical plate of metal and like an engraving pen and put those in metal. And then like store those words somewhere safely. So for different people, it might be different things. If there's a safe place in your home, you can store them there. You can store them in a bank vault. If you have a really big collection, I think this is where it starts to be like a different solution for each person. If you have a collection that's like on the order of millions of dollars, I would probably split that key phrase up into like 3 pieces and store each of those, let's say 8 of the words in 3 different sets of 8. Store 8 of those words in a bank vault, 8 of them at home, 8 of them in a different bank vault with a different bank or something like that. So yeah, I think like that's kind of the safe setup procedure I would take, and then from there it's a matter of like never enter those words anywhere else ever again other than another hardware wallet. And you should be at that point have like a pretty high guarantee around safety, so long as you're like interacting with like decentralized applications that you trust and all of that. Like the most sacred and important thing really is that kind of setup ritual and making sure that you didn't make a silly mistake, like taking a photo, now it's in your iCloud, and then there's an iCloud compromise in 3 years, and you realize like, oh wait, this person's gonna you know, have some image recognition software that is written to flag everything that looks like a key phrase, and now like, you know, a couple thousand wallets are compromised and immediately drained of funds. Like the ability for people to quickly perform an attack once there's like an attack vector is pretty incredible. So, you know, take that setup process pretty seriously.
Definitely. So this is a question that was sourced from the community. How do you deal with managing your assets and NFTs if you pass away? So of course you need a legal will, but how do you technically and safely trust someone, or like a way to store instructions, keys, passwords for someone to access all you have?
Yeah, so this is where like, you know, different people have different outlooks on this. I'm assuming this question comes from the perspective that like you want to make sure that these things can be passed down. So in that case, like I would recommend the best way of doing this is storing your key, like storing the key phrase for resetting your wallet in a bank vault. You know, that's something that like people are going to be able to have access to. Now, I personally would not recommend storing the entire 24 words in one bank, because like you now have an attack vector that's tied to that bank. But if you split it up across like 3 institutions, 4 institutions, 6 institutions, depending on how like cautious or paranoid you are, you know, there's a pretty strong guarantee, I would say, that like 6 different banks are not going to collude to like steal your money. So, you know, that's kind of the route I would go, is like you split the key up, you put it in a bunch of different bank vaults, and in each of those bank vaults, there's kind of instructions on kind of how you like would put the keys together, like the order that they go in or whatever like that. There's like, this is piece number 1 of 3 or whatever in each bank vault. And then in your will, like there can be the instructions that say like, these are the bank vaults. You know, I think there's, and for the person, let's say, that doesn't have like as huge of a collection, maybe that you don't have all these bank vaults and you just tell your loved ones like, hey, there's this set of words, they're stored in this secure location. If I die, you know, go buy a hardware wallet and read the instructions, and like you tell them what I'm telling you about setting up the wallet with the keys. But yeah, I think that people sometimes get like too focused on like, are other people going to, you know, be able to access these keys? And it's like, well, if you have loved ones and family, like they're going to need to access those things if you want them to, you know, be able to inherit these things that are important to you, you know, if you're to pass away. So yeah, that's kind of like the general strategy I would go about. And then how many layers of partitioning is kind of up to you. But I would strongly recommend, if you know that you want to pass things down, like make sure there's not a part of your protocol or your process that's only in your head. So, you know, if it's something like, oh, there's an extra word in there and I didn't tell it, like, and there's 25 words instead of 24, and you have to know which one's the right one. You know, that might work as long as you tell all of the people that you trust to also like know which word's the fake word. But like, make sure you tell the people to know which one's the fake word. Otherwise, you know, like you have the potential of things being lost. In actuality, like 25 out of 24 is like, you can write a script that'll figure it out. But
yeah, it might take a couple hours, or, you know, depending on who it is. But yeah, you wanted to make it like easy in a way that they can access, you know, without making it readily available to everyone.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like I think it's good to have some physical place the keys are represented, versus like just in your head. It's like you can get in a bike accident now, like you don't have your keys anymore if you just memorize them. And so like having that physical location be something that you feel is secure and that other people are going to have access to if they need to is really kind of like the way to look at it, I think.
So another question that we got from the community, which I think a lot of people have asked, like, how do you know when you are secure enough? Like, what is like the point where it's like, okay, I'm secure enough, I feel like I have everything I need, like I can move forward and still collect and feel confident?
Yeah, I think like, you know, it kind of goes back to that idea of like insurance is like, I think it really is dependent on like how much you're trying to protect. You know, I think that if you follow kind of like the protocol of setting things up in a safe way, you can feel pretty certain that like somebody is not going to, you know, be able to like steal your keys from you. But like really, security is kind of like an ongoing an ongoing mindset to be aware of in that, like, sure, you set up things securely, but like, if you follow a sketchy phishing link and, you're interacting with like a fake version of Uniswap and you get tricked into signing a transaction, like you can still be compromised in some way. And so like, I think if you set things up in a way that's being really cautious, like you can feel really certain about that kind of process, like that initial setup, like things aren't just going to vanish one day. But like you should still be careful every time you're kind of interacting with something new to make sure that it's like genuine and it's like a real email from Artblocks and not like Artblocks probably shouldn't have your email, but like, that's you shouldn't be getting emails from Artblocks if you never gave Artblocks your email.
Unless you sign up for the Artblocks newsletter, maybe,
That's true.
As you should.
But like, if you be cautious, I guess, in the things that get sent your way and being confident, like at least before you start signing transactions. And I guess this is a good time to mention too, like just having the hardware wallet itself is like your keys are secure, but it's important to make sure you actually read those transactions on the hardware wallet that you're signing. So like making sure that the address that you're looking at on the little device is the address that you think you're interacting with, either the smart contract that you think you're interacting with or the person that you think you're sending funds to. I forget who it was. It's like one of the founders of one of the big DeFi protocols lost a ton of money because they were in a rush clicking through and signing a transaction, and their hardware wallet wasn't compromised, but their MetaMask was compromised, and it sent their hardware wallet a fraudulent transaction. And if they had read the address, they would have noticed like, oh wait, this isn't the address I'm usually interacting with for Uniswap or whatever it was. But instead they lost, I don't know what it was, like in the order of hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. So it's important too to like, you have the thing that's secure, make sure you're kind of using it in a secure way and like paying attention to what you're signing.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, because one wrong click, and that could mean losing out a bunch of NFTs, a bunch of, cryptocurrency. And yeah, we obviously want everyone to be safe. Going back to like talking about vaults, but more so I think on like OpenSea or just creating like a vault account for yourself. So like, how some people have like Ponyo and then like Ponyo Vault, like what is like a vault essentially, and like how do people use them?
Yeah, so I think what the word vault means like different things to different people. There's maybe like it's easy to get the misconception that like a vault is a distinctly different thing than like just another wallet. But in actuality, like all Ethereum wallets are created equally, and there's no like distinction kind of on the blockchain between like a vault wallet and a normal wallet. What people typically mean when they have a vault is like either a wallet that's maybe one that they just don't interact with, like it's like a psychological thing of like, I'm going to put stuff there and I'm not going to touch it, or I'm going to put stuff there and there's no ETH in that wallet, so I don't have ETH to pay for the gas to move things out. It could mean that it's like a separate wallet with a separate set of keys that, let's say, like are not ever entered into a hardware wallet. So like you use a hardware wallet to set up a set of keys. You make sure that like that wallet, you have access to that wallet, but then you like wipe the hardware wallet clean and you have those keys written down, and that's like your vault, because you don't have a way to easily spend it. But at the end of the day, like it's more of like I think a psychological thing than anything.
Gotcha.
And one more thing that I just thought of as I'm saying, like, make sure when you set it up to make sure it works. A really important thing, especially if you're setting up a hardware wallet that you're transferring a collection into. Like if you started getting in NFTs or using Metamask and you realize, hey, I'm gonna set up this hardware wallet. It's gonna have a new passphrase because I'm gonna do that really securely. I'm gonna move everything in. The one thing that you want to make sure you do before you move everything in is send like a tiny transaction of like 0.00001 ETH to that new wallet, and make sure that you can send that tiny amount back, or at least that I would make sure that you can send it back, but at least that you see that it goes into that wallet is like step one. Okay, I'm sending it to the right place. And then the fact that you can send it back tells you like, okay, the hardware wallet, I have the ability to sign with the keys that I think I have the ability to sign with. Having that kind of certainty is like really kind of important before you start sending a big amount of value into that wallet. The other part of that would be like, you do that, you send the tiny transaction in, you wipe the hardware wallet clean, you reset it, and you restore it from the keys. And then you make sure when you restore it, you can still interact with those funds. I would highly recommend that you do that before transferring any significant amount of assets. I have a buddy who I had asked him about this year. Like, he's been in the space for years and has had a hardware wallet, and I was like, you're sure that like you can restore your wallet, right? And he was like, wait, what? And that was like a very concerning thing to hear.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, like, don't mess with this. Either basically I made him like, you need to go out and buy a second hardware wallet and make sure you can restore it before you do anything, because like, you don't have any guarantees that the hardware, like the passphrase you have written down, is corresponding to the hardware wallet that you're using on a daily basis. And like, you want to feel really confident about that, not just like, yeah, I think I did it right.
Definitely.
So it's like a trust but verified type of thing.
Yeah, and I also think, when people are sending like your wallet address to somebody else, make sure you copy and paste it. Don't type it all out, or highlight everything. Just like, there's like on Metamask, there should be like a button where it's basically like, you just click and it copies the address, and like double check that the first and last few digits and letters match up. So that way you're like basically like 100% sure that it's the correct spot. Next question we got is, it's a funny one. Ledger and Metamask colluded to rug me via Google Chrome, and I've decided to become anti-internet, but still buy NFTs in a wood cabin in the forest. How can I do this safely?
Yes, I think Bobby included this question. I did want to include it, not because I'm going to answer this ridiculous question, but because of the interaction that I saw this get on Twitter. So basically any tweet that like mentions MetaMask on Twitter, you're guaranteed to have like at least 2 accounts that claim that they're MetaMask support chime in on that thread and try to convince you some way or another that like they're MetaMask support and they're here to help you. You often, this kind of makes sense when it's like someone's actually having an issue with MetaMask. But the reason this question is included is to say like, MetaMask is never going to be trying to like DM you on Twitter to help you unsolicitedly, and the people who are doing that are trying to trick you into giving you their keys so that they can steal your money. And so like, be cautious, because bad people are out there trying to trick the people that are kind of vulnerable or especially new to the space.
Definitely, yeah. And even if anyone DMs you, they don't know, and they're just like, hey, check this out. Like, don't click random links, because that can compromise your wallet, and you just don't want to be put in that situation. Like, I kind of like look at things of when people just randomly DM me with like a link, I'm just like, okay, it's junk. Unless we have like a conversation, or if they're asking like, hey, can I send you this photo, click this link, just be like, hey, post the photo here and within Discord. Like, they don't need to send you a file. Like, they should be able to upload it. That way you can kind of like decide for yourself. So just be like, I think it's always good to be extra cautious, especially since you're dealing with a lot of money, a lot of assets. The next question is actually from dbochman, or I guess it was from Karate Kid. They asked, how much do you recommend Firefox or Brave over Chrome, security-wise, when using like a Ledger or a Trezor?
Yeah, so I think this is actually one of those things that like doesn't really matter at all, in that like, as long as you set up the hardware wallet securely, and you're then interacting with Web3, you're interacting with the Ethereum blockchain through your hardware wallet. It might be through MetaMask, but like, you're ultimately signing those transactions in a secure way if you're verifying them and signing them on your hardware wallet. And like Firefox and Chrome, like they're both very reputable browsers. I personally use Brave. It's another, I think, reputable browser that's a little bit more privacy focused. People, I think there's been maybe some issues recently with like Ledger integration of MetaMask in the latest version of Chrome, and so if you're running into that issue, maybe you want to switch to Brave. Maybe you won't go back, but I like at the end of the day, if you're using a reputable web browser that's like maintained and patched for bugs generally, I wouldn't stress too much about kind of the security trade-offs across like Firefox or Chrome.
Got it. How do you manage 2 wallets without leaving an obvious linkage? So like, if somebody wanted, like, is there a way that if you don't want somebody to know how much ETH you have like in a specific wallet, is there a way to like mask that, or is that something that will always just kind of be out there?
Yeah, I think this kind of depends on, there's two ways about this, like depending on how much you want to rely on kind of like institutions that that need to trust. So, if you already have a relationship with like a Coinbase or a Gemini or something like that, the easiest way to do it is like you transfer funds into that, you transfer funds into your Coinbase account from one wallet, and then you transfer them out to a different wallet. And then if people are looking kind of at the transaction history, uh, that they're just going to see like money was going in and out of Coinbase, and it's harder to follow. If you want to get really crafty, maybe you send like not the exact same amount. If you think people are going to be searching for like, oh, who moved exactly 35 ETH, or who moved exactly, if it's like 1 ETH, there's probably a ton of people moving 1 ETH. Probably still a ton of people moving 35 ETH. But if you want to get crafty, maybe you do like 1.234, and then like when you withdraw it, it's like 1.114 or something. Like maybe that matters, maybe it doesn't. So that's kind of one route. The other route, which like I personally haven't done because like I already use Coinbase, and if I want to move funds away like around in this kind of way, like I would do it through Coinbase. But another way is like use something like Tornado Cash, where you basically like put money into Tornado Cash. It like scrambles a bunch of transactions together, and then you withdraw that money from Tornado Cash with a different wallet. Kind of try to do it spaced out in time. But yeah, those are kind of like the two different approaches.
Got it. Okay, cool. And then finally, the last question we got from the community was, can you talk to us about a simple, 5 to 10 steps, just like very general, something easy that everyone can practice with regards to security?
Yeah, so I think this is like just kind of maybe summarizing a little bit the things we already talked about and rehashing it. One, like make sure you set up things in a secure way. Make sure that if you're not using a hardware wallet already and you're moving to one, that you start from scratch basically and like move all of your assets over. So one thing a lot of people don't know is that you can like multi-select assets in OpenSea and do a bulk transfer. So that's one way to save a little bit on gas. But like at the end of the day, if you have a collection that's worth like tens of thousands of dollars, spending $50 in gas is probably worth it to move your assets. So yeah, make sure things are set up in a safe way. Make sure that if they're not, you move them to being set up in a safe way, and then like make sure while you're doing that, there's no photos anywhere ever. I think that's the biggest things. Like people love to take photos of passphrases that they don't want to write down, and you really shouldn't do that, especially with this. And then like on a day-to-day basis, make sure you're not clicking sketchy links, downloading sketchy files, signing transactions that you don't really know what you're interacting with. Having that daily hygiene, and verifying the transactions that you sign is kind of the daily practice I'd be mindful of.
Perfect. Cool. Well, Jake, thanks so much for being on tonight, sharing your experience and expertise with regards to security in the crypto world. Before we go though, I have to ask, is there any hint of a third art block drop in the near future?
There is. I'm working on something now that's kind of in a similar style, but inspired by the mountains. So hopefully I'll have that ready for folks soon.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, man. We appreciate you being on.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's fun to join and fun to talk about this stuff.
Absolutely. Well, next up, we have someone that, is mysterious for so many reasons, and we appreciate them being on and reaching out. It's Paddle141. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for being here. So for those people who don't know, Paddle141 was the Sotheby's auction winner for 19 pieces for an Art Blocks lot. And yeah, we have so many questions. A lot of people from the community were like wondering who won the auction. So it's just great to have you on. First question I want to ask you is, were you aware of Art Blocks prior to the auction?
I was. Yeah, I've always been interested in this space, and I started to look at NFTs at the beginning of the year. So I was kind of aware, and I already bought a few NFTs earlier in the year, and then at some point I decided to look at the auction. It's actually a fun story because the first time I looked at the auction, everything was so expensive. So I'm like, I'm not going to bid But then what happened is on the last day, like maybe 3 hours prior to the closing of the auction, I just checked this one, and this one was like so underpriced, in my opinion. I'm like, you know, this is something I want to potentially bid on. And so then I have to go through the workflow to bid on, which was an experience in itself. And so between the initial looking up the price, talking to the auction house to get an estimate, because they do provide an estimate. It's not public, but you can ask them. And so what they shared with me was totally aligned with my own thinking. And so I thought, okay, you know, I have a little bit of money. This sounds reasonable to me. So it's obviously still a big amount of money, but it's reasonable. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to submit a bid and forget about it. And it just happened that I won. And so I'm super, super, super happy about that.
That's awesome. Did you have any, you know, what did you know about generative art prior to the auction? Like, do you have a background personally, or is it something that you just learned about recently prior to, like, when you saw the Sotheby's auction?
Yeah, I have a background in tech. So I've used processing back in the days. I've played a lot with different things. That's always something I wanted to do. And so the other thing is I've actually checked some of those pieces on OpenSea, because that's the only way you could access it, right? So I already have a good sense of each individual piece, how much they were like valued at that time. And so I thought, you know, there is 19 pieces. You know, I'm looking at it for like a 5, 10, 15, 20 years time horizon. I just need one of those artists to break out, and I'm all right. And so I really believe in this portfolio analysis, right? So I have 19 bets. Obviously, I want every one of them to be successful, but you never know, right? And so that's one aspect. And the reason I decided to invest is really more for a diversification type of thing. And so that's the reason I explored this. But the other reason is I actually really like this art. And I actually want to potentially contribute back to the community and become an artist at some point in the future. I'm not ready yet, but definitely be part of the community, learning about the community, using this platform as a way to evangelize this community. I think it's something I'm really, really keen to do.
That's amazing. That's cool that, you know, just kind of like hearing about your background and then potentially having a future drop, you know, on art blocks would just be like the coolest thing, because, you know, not knowing who you were and then, you know, coming like full circle, being like, okay, now I'm going to release my own. I think that's really cool. And I know,
by the way, I don't have a background in marketing, so I'm just trying stuff out.
Well, I'll help you out personally if need be. But I think just, you know, you knowing that, or people knowing that, you know, you purchased this art blocks lot, I think is just like cool, because a lot of people are just like, who is this mysterious person? So it's just like really cool to put not a name to a face yet, but I think just to like, I don't know, just to speak with you. Did you have it? So prior to the art blocks drop, you mentioned like talking about NFTs. Have you collected any other NFTs in like the space or like in the traditional art world that you wanted to talk about?
So I do. So I'm lucky enough to have some traditional art, and so I've always been inspired by traditional art, and obviously we are moving towards more of a digital platform and tools and things like this. So as I said, I started to get into NFTs at the beginning of the year. Like most people, I get addicted to it. So I'm pretty sure I'm already over on my budget. Outside, I'm talking specifically outside of this collection, right? This collection is very specific. I'm talking about my main wallet. And so, yeah, I've done a lot of different things. Right now, I'm doing a lot of avatars type of NFTs. Some of them are very valuable. Some of them do not worth nothing.
Yeah.
But once again, I'm here for the long term, right? And so you never know. Right now, I think someone did some analysis, and there was maybe 20,000 wallet across all the different type of avatars. And I think the last time I checked, there is like 3 billion people on the internet right now. So you can imagine the potential. Everybody is going to want to have their own avatar at some point. And we don't even have a working, metaverse yet. So once we have AR, VR, all this type of thing, it's going to be democratized. And so what we are buying now potentially could have huge amount of value like 5 or 10 years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, just kind of what you were mentioning. I think we're still kind of early. Like I've talked about in previous shows, Art has only been around for a little over 6 months. So it's just cool to see, the evolution of the space. Like, where do you see art blocks and generative art in general, like 3 to 5 years from now?
Before answering this question, I just want to point out that it used to be easy to mint a piece, and I missed the last 3 or 4 drops. I know every single drop is basically sold out in like maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I actually don't know. So I used to be very active on eBay back in the days, and this reminds me a little bit of eBay, where now you suspect that people don't go to the interface, they go directly to the smart contract, or they use some bots to be able to get in as quickly as possible. So what's fascinating about this space, it's evolving, and there is a lot of different type of behavior emerging. And so I just wanted to share this. I don't know if you guys need to figure out a different way to mint or provide different time windows. I don't know what is the solution to that, but I'm already feeling the pain. And so I'm torn apart because I want to promote this platform, but the more I do, then the more it becomes competitive for us to be able to mint anything. So it's a good problem to have, but it's still a problem.
Yeah, I'll let Eric, I don't know if you want to chime in just real quick, because I know this is something that has happened, a couple of times, but I know the developers, Snowfro has just been working day in, day out, trying to address this. And I don't know if you wanted to say something.
I mean, it's really kind of hard to put into words how disappointing it is that, we're kind of experiencing this. I mean, there's one side is like there is some kind of, scalping and flipping, but there's another side where there's actually more people that want the piece than the amount of pieces that there are, regardless of like secondary market. And, we have some constraints. We can't just have an artist do more drops, more mints just because, that doesn't necessarily is the solution. But it crushed it. It's soul crushing that like we could have something that people can enjoy so much and at the same time have such a harsh reaction and such a negative reaction. Today was the first time that I was competing for a mint and raised the gas 3 times and did not get one. And I started when it said 1 out of 400.
Wow.
I was on a call, I was literally starting a really important phone call. And so all I had time to do was be like, damn it, and move on. And then I came back to, a Discord full of like, some people not being too happy. And, all I can say is that, we are thriving on decentralization here. We are thriving on what blockchain offers. That's why the platform is successful. And that's why we can trust everything about it. And that is exactly why we have these problems. And so, I mentioned today in Discord that it's really, I think really the root is price discovery. We want everyone to have access to inexpensive mints, but instant flipping is not helping anybody either. And that difference in price is being paid to miners, not to the artists, not to like even, other charities that, or even the platform. Like there's other things that can be done that, we're going to have to sacrifice something. So we either sacrifice our identities, which is the last thing on the list that we're going to sacrifice, right? Like the idea of KYC makes me want to jump out the window. We're going to have to sacrifice, and maybe it's just a matter of like mixing, and hybrids, and this is something that Jacob and I have been kind of talking about extensively the last few months. But, there's you can sacrifice your chances. So it's like Top Shot, where like I get in line and I'm number 144,000 to mint one of 25,000 packs. Like, no, we can't do that. Like that's just completely like I can't do that to people that have been collecting one of every drop. And so, or we sacrifice price. And it's crazy to say that, right? Like we are a company that's here to, also make money on top of make beautiful art. And it's the last thing I want to do. But if you think about the fact that people are getting hurt, miners are making more money than art blocks is at this point. Like miners are making literally 10 times more money than art blocks makes on a drop, right? And we're fine. We're not doing this, in pursuing that. But it's just completely absurd that we're dealing with these things. So Paddle, I'm sorry that you dealt with that today. I dealt with that today. I think a lot of people have been dealing with that.
I dealt with it too. Yeah.
Lately, and I can just only be grateful for the people that stick around and care enough about these pieces to get them. And if you have scalpers and a scalper buys the entire set, and eventually someone says, I'm not going to tinker with this on the secondary market, and that scalper is sitting on 75 ETH worth of a piece and has to keep dropping the price and dropping the price and dropping the price. Like one day they will get really burned, and there will always be someone that will come right behind them. But it is a market. It's a free market. We have to embrace the things that make this amazing, and we also have to understand the things that make this tougher. So I'm grateful for your patience, everybody's patience. It does crush my soul to hear that. There was somebody in the chat earlier that was like forlornly talking about the old days, and I'm just like, God, like I know, I know, and like it breaks my heart. So yeah.
No, I totally understand.
Yeah, talking about fees, I have no idea how expensive the fees of the auction house are. And this was my first bid, right? So I had no idea what are all those fees, and so now I learned. And so if I were to choose, I would prefer to buy something on a platform instead of going to auction house, essentially. Anyway, I want to go back to your question. Can you repeat your question, please?
Yeah, I think I was basically just talking about, where do you see art blocks and generative art in general in like 3 to 5 years from now?
Yeah, so I think, like, I'm not an artist. I have a background in technology, so I'm very, very excited about figuring out what I want to express as an art. And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people, right? So for me, the beauty of crypto, it's allow a lot of artists to start to not make money for making money, but be able to get money out of their activity, right? So if you have like 1,000, if you can mint 1,000 and it's only 0.1 ETH for us, for each of the buyer, the artist can actually get a meaningful amount of money, right? So all of a sudden, there are I have some friends who are artists, and I love them, but they are not making a lot of money, right? So they have to make a lot of choices in life about what they can do and cannot do. So if we can really help artists to make a living of what they like to do, I think it's going to be a huge, huge boom in terms of creativity, right? So this is kind of the creator economy that everybody's talking about. And so I think for artists, it's going to be very, very valuable. So that's the first aspect. I think the second aspect is right now, if you want to do something from scratch, you need to know processing, you need to learn a lot of different things, right? So you have companies like Adobe. A lot of people don't like them because their solution is very, very expensive. But they're already experimenting with like AI as a way to help express your creativity, right? So I could imagine a few startups starting to build tools within the next 3 to 5 years to allow anybody to really become an artist, right? So there is two sides of it. One of the side, it's going to create an economy that is going to help artists thrive. And then the other side is there is going to be a lot more artists because the tools are going to get better.
Perfect. I completely agree. That's awesome. How do you plan to display the works at your home? Are you planning on displaying them at all? Like, do you have a digital frame that you're planning to buy?
Yeah. So my challenge is right now I'm aware of a few startups that are trying to come up with the best digital frame. And so I have no idea which one. And those are still expensive. So, I want to buy one, but I don't know if I should buy now or if I should wait. So if there is anybody in the community that could, build a guide or provide some recommendation, I think that would be super useful. I've seen a Wall Street Journal article like maybe a few months ago. And there is also a lot of startups that are trying to create like a physical print of your art as well. So there is going to be a lot of opportunities. What I would love to be able to do is in my home office, having a digital frame behind my desk, and then at some point in real life, having a Zoom meeting with someone I'm working with or someone I'm interacting with through Zoom, and for them to recognize one of those pieces in my frame while I'm talking to them, and just them trying to figure out, okay, are you the one who bought those things at the auction house? For me, if this
That'd
ever
be great.
happened, I would be like so amazed.
That would be amazing. I think, yeah, you would definitely have to let everyone know that you had that moment, because I think it would just be, that'd be something you probably don't forget, because you're like, yep, that's exactly me. Would you tell them though, or would you just kind of be like, nah, I just have like a bunch of other pieces, I don't know what you're talking about?
It depends. I'm a strong believer in moments, and so I want this moment to happen. And if it doesn't happen before I come out as an artist, then too bad. But I'm very, very curious if this is going to happen in the next 6 months. By the way, I didn't share with anybody I know except my close family that I own this for obvious reasons. My family have no understanding of what NFT is. They have no understanding why I spend some money on this. They're like, why not buying a car or something else? I'm like, well, but what happened is one of my family member is actually in crypto, is been in crypto for many years, and I had no clue. I didn't know. And so through that discussion, I've learned that one of my family members is actually very excited about crypto. He knows a lot. I was very surprised. And I'd ask him, why you never told me? It's like, because I think people are going to think I'm crazy doing stuff in crypto. So I think there is still a social stigma about, especially when you look at the Bitcoin, conference in Miami and Miami, this type of things. But what I really like about this community of generative art, I think it's very positive. It's very, very, I was very surprised when I joined the Discord or welcoming it was. And so that's one of the reasons I decided to join. Obviously, I want to protect my identity for some time, but I definitely want to be active on Twitter. I definitely want to be active through the Discord. I want to help with this show. And obviously I'm using a lot of GIFs, so I hope people are not getting fed up of this. The reason I'm doing this is because I joined the Alien Boys Discord, and this is really, really crazy. And they are using so many GIFs like all over, and you have this constant flow of like energy, raw energy. So I'm trying to do something similar with a little bit more test and using art block as a way to do that. But I hope it's not going to offend anybody, or I hope people are not going to get tired. Just ignore me if I'm doing too much of it, but that's something I'm really enjoying doing right now.
Oh, we're pretty used to it in our Discord. But what Alien Boy?
Alien Boys, it's one of the avatars.
Oh, it's one of the avatars. Like specifically, it's a not a bunch of nice.
Wow. Yeah,
You're thinking of are you thinking of aliens and unlike punks or?
Yeah. So you have punks, you have mibits, you have apes. By the way, apes bored apes, best investment ever. Like, I mean, part of that community, and it's like mind blowing. It's like I don't know how to describe it, but it's like if you guys can become something similar at some point, that would be once you go mainstream, maybe. But it was crazy. And so after this initial success, okay, I'm going to get a Yeti, I'm going to get Alien Boys, I'm going to get Cranium. So I have a few of them. I don't know which one are going to be valuable over time, but yeah.
Very cool. So I got to ask, I mean, a couple of people DM'd me about this. Was there one specific mint out of the 19 that like really spoke to you, or was it just kind of all like the entire lot as a whole?
Yeah, so I tried to get a Nimbus a few weeks prior. So that's one of the things, because I'm into avatars. That's why if you look at my Twitter feed, this is what I'm using for my avatar. So I'm very happy with this. I really love the singularities. As a squirrel, sorry, I'm not sure the right was the first one on the top.
Squiggle. Yeah, Chromie Squiggle. Yeah.
And I got a free squiggle because I basically joined the community, and it's a red one, almost monochromatic, and it's like amazing. And so I'm very, very lucky. I really, really appreciate the efforts. And so I love them all. Obviously, some of them I can relate better, but I want to talk to the artists. I want to understand their process. I want to learn how they come up with those ideas, you know, how do they build the code, and so at some point I'm going to develop my own sensitivity, and I hope I'm going to be able to contribute at some point.
Awesome. We look forward to that. That's all for me. I don't know, Eric, if you had anything that you wanted to chime in about. Obviously, I know you were really excited to know that, you know, we had Paddle141 as a guest. I don't know if you have any questions you wanted to ask.
No, I mean, I can't wait to see you display these. I thought it was really cool that you verified who you were. Like, you did this on Twitter. You kind of showed who you were. You clearly know crypto well enough to kind of understand what it would take for us to not even question that you were the person that won this. And I think that's pretty rad. Yeah, we're just so happy to have you as part of the community. I hope this set stays together, because I think that it's something, you know, I'm an OCD level collector when it comes to NFTs and all of the things that I've been involved with in the last few years. And to me, I think this is something that, you know, I can just see it staying together, and something that I would have collected myself. And I'm just really excited for you. I think it's going to be really great to see what happens with it over the next few years. Yeah,
this is my goal, is really keep it. And that's why it's like on a dedicated address where I'm not going to use it for anything else. So talking about the signature, that was the first time I was doing it, and my hot wallet didn't allow to do a signature, so I have to go on a web wallet, and I totally screwed it up the first time. So my first signature is actually a fail, and now it's recorded for eternity on the blockchain. So I'm glad I was able to figure it out, but it's still fairly complex, even for people who have a tech background, even for people who understand, are excited about technology. It's still fairly complex. So I think for it to become mainstream, there is still a lot of improvements that need to happen. And you mentioned security earlier in the show. All the recommendations that were provided as like really, really, really good. But I think, you know, there are so many hoops you need to go through. And so I think the thinking is, you know, the more money you have at stake, definitively you should invest more time and thinking and in the security. And so I hope a lot of people are just going to experiment, and maybe they're going to make some mistakes, but that's the best way to learn. And if you have something valuable like I have right now, I'm using a hardware wallet, I'm not going to touch it, I'm not going to sign on anything. I did my verification on Twitter, so people know that I'm actually the real owner. So there is no question about it, but I'm going to keep it. So now I'm actually scared if I die. How do I make sure that my family is aware of it and they know what to do?
Yeah.
But yeah. So I've seen a service where you basically can, it's kind of, if you die, it's automatically redirect your collection to somewhere else, to a different address, but I don't know if that's something you can trust, right? So I'm pretty sure at some point, someone is going to figure out a way. Already on Facebook, there are a lot of services that allow, you know, a different experience when people pass away. So I'm pretty sure at some point of time, someone will figure out how to solve this problem, but it's going to be a big problem for this type of collection.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Paddle141, thanks so much for being here today. It's just such a pleasure to talk to you and just get your thoughts about like the generative art space, art blocks, you know, crypto in general. And yeah, thanks so much for being here again.
Sure, I'll be back.
Cool, we look forward to it. Up next, we have a really big art block collector, dbochman. How are you doing?
Hey, super excited to be on After Dinner Mints tonight.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. I mean, you're just you've been super active in the community. I know you're currently working on a wiki page for the community, which I think is really cool, with, you know, a couple other people in the community as well. But yeah, we're just interested, you know, thanks for being here first off. And yeah, how did you first learn about art blocks in the NFT space?
That's a really good question, and I think in a weird way it might have happened through my like day job, which I don't want to spend too much time talking about. But I'm in a technology business, and I wanted to do a hack around NFTs to try and expose some of the folks at my work to this concept and technology. And so I put together a POAP, which is a proof of attendance protocol badge to distribute as part of my hack to try and like help build this like awareness around NFTs and just like getting people thinking about them, not so much of like an implementation side of things. And as I was exploring the world of POAPs and NFTs in general, I came across this idea of like on-chain art, and I quickly learned to differentiate between like IPFS NFTs and the kind of like spectrum of immutability, so to speak. And that's actually kind of the story behind my avatar on Discord. Is I have mandalas, is what it's called, and it's one of the first generative on-chain NFTs that I found and kind of like claimed and made it my avatar. And that is sort of like the first step I took on the path to art blocks. And I'm not sure exactly where I like first saw art blocks referenced. It might have been Reddit, it might have been um, Twitter or somewhere else, but I think like it was that was the journey that got me there.
Awesome. What was the first project that like spoke to you and you're like, okay, you know what, this is something I want to get into?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm so glad to be on the podcast with Jake tonight because my very first mint was Stipple Sunset, and it's a
Nice.
beautiful mint 123. I have it paired with a Saguaro, and it's just like it's incredible. And like feeling that magic of like, rolling the dice and just like getting this art that is like incredible, and there's no one else who has a sunset like this one. Was just such like a entrancing experience almost that like I was immediately hooked. And from there, I was showing up to all the drops after that and just did my best to collect what I could um, as I went. And it just like the rabbit hole just kept getting deeper and deeper. And like every like project I would look into would have like features and interactivity that I didn't know about. And like the Discord would constantly blow my mind with these facts that I was totally unaware of. And I could just go on and on. It's just been such an adventure.
That's super cool. Do you mind sharing us? I know you have your oncyber gallery pulled
Yeah.
up. Do you mind sharing like some of your mints, like why you collected them, or like I know you're really big on sets, which is like something I really love when people build. So yeah, if you could kind of just like take us through that.
Totally. So you're looking at right now. This is my monochrome gallery. It's kind of like the culmination of a lot of like time and energy. But it all started with this piece over here, rhythm number 11. And I'll get a little closer to it. I actually minted this. This is Jeff Davis's Playground Rhythm Project, and I got unbelievably lucky. The black and whites were pretty rare, and Jeff was actually jealous. Like he saw it come through the minter, and he's like, "Oh, I need to get one of those." And it was so he did. I was really glad that he got one. But this was my first black and white piece, and this kind of inspired me. I was like, "Oh man, I'd love to build like a whole set of black and white pieces." And I started looking around, and I got really lucky with the mints. Not all of these pieces are minted. Let me see if I can find another one that I did mint. I think, here's a great example, the Libertad. And I won't try and pronounce the second word because I'm going to butcher it. But this was another beautiful black and white that came out of the minter. And I think like the minter somehow knows about my black and white collection because I also got a great black and white antennas. And I've been kind of like, trading and like getting to know the community. So it's been instrumental to building up this collection. I've actually had people like reach out to me to be like, "Hey, you're the black and white guy. I've got this cool black and white piece. Like, could we like figure something out?" And so that's been really special, is to like have people not only like be aware that I'm interested in the black and white pieces, but like actively come to me and like help me build the collection has been really cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you love most about the Art Blocks community? I know you've been on for, I mean, I don't know, has it been like 2 or 3 months maybe?
Yeah, right around 3 months now. And I think what I like most about the Art Blocks community, and I think anyone who's like kind of spent time in the Discord will have a pretty good sense of, is like it's the camaraderie and like the excitement about the art and the enthusiasm for the artists and what they're making, and it's kind of like this collective experience of getting to see a project unfold and understand kind of the work that went in to generate it and the different features and like the ideation behind it. But more concretely or specifically, I guess, there was a really cool community puzzle project put out by the Generative Art Collective, and they are behind this Empyrean set. And for collectors or owners of Empyrean works, you could sign up for a free sticker, and with that sticker came a puzzle piece. And they kind of challenged the community to unlock a prize. It was very vague at the time. We had no idea what we were working towards, but there was this idea that if we somehow assembled all these puzzle pieces to people who may or may not be on the Discord, right? Because like these sticker like signups where you weren't sure if everyone who was signed up was actually going to post their pieces, but I kind of just started like photoshopping the pieces together as people would post them, and we started assembling this really cool a geometric shape that was like out of cardboard, and some pieces were blurry, some had bad lighting, some had good lighting, but it slowly came together until we were missing one piece, and it might have actually been Snowfro's piece, but we're not sure if it, you know. And then Jake, I think you were actually a big part of like the final clue.
Yeah.
We had to unlock, find the missing Seguero and Sun, and we all got rewarded with a special NFT that's kind of like it is the image of the stitched together puzzle pieces, and they were super generous. I have mint number 0 somehow because I guess
Wow.
I helped like assemble these pieces, but it was the whole community. It wasn't just me, and I think that was like the biggest turning point where I was like, after that puzzle, I was like, all right, it's time to build my curated set. Like this place is amazing. I'm not gonna mess around anymore. Like I want to like dive as deep into this pool as I can. And
That's awesome.
yeah, I've just been having a blast.
Cool. Yeah, it's been so cool seeing you build your your curated set, but then also like you mentioned, your black and white set. I think is just incredible. I mean, it looks like what you have maybe 15, 20 pieces in total, and I feel like usually black
more. Yeah, I'm running into like the gallery constraints. You know, I'm trying to get the oncyber folks to give me more because it's not just black and white. Like I'd love to do a colored room.
Oh yeah.
And like a rainbow set, and like there's so many different types of sets you can build, even like artist specific, project specific. But I really love the cross project, cross artist sets that people build, and just like the way that so for me, like I'm not an artist. I've never been super talented at like producing beautiful pieces, and so like this is my chance at like expressing creatively, like how can I fit these pieces together in an original way and produce something meaningful and like something that people can enjoy and browse, and like, you know, it'll produces a reaction. And that's been one of my favorite things, is like sharing the collections with people and getting that like positive feedback that you can see it resonate with them. And it's just like, yeah, that's a really cool experience that I haven't gotten to feel in many other facets of life. And so like Art Blocks has really been a really rewarding experience in that sense.
Oh man, I mean,
I was just gonna throw out there that I think you're validating a lot of different things here. Like I think you're one of the early people to start kind of curating sets and putting together some really solid sets. And you know, I'm getting approached by a lot of different places, different organizations that are looking at kind of doing curated stuff and kind of like, you know, putting curated stuff out on the market and not just letting anybody sell anything that they want. And I think you're validating that by putting together these like magical collections. I think that also the NFT space can feel very intimidating to outsiders, and what you're putting together is an easy entry point for someone to really just kind of click and be like, okay, like, wow, this is why we need 1,000 mints of something, because this can exist, and then your rainbow collection can exist, and whatever. So I think there's a lot of validation going on from what you're doing specifically. I think you were really early on that. You know, West last or 2 weeks ago blew me away with his, you know, curation on some of his Armada pieces. Like I think this is the next step and the next level for crypto art, which is just art, to be embraced by the real world. And you know, I'm super happy to have you around doing that, and you're blowing me away with your collections as well. So yeah, it's impressive.
No, really appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. So there's been obviously a huge influx of, collectors to the space, and a lot of them are curious, like how to navigate. But what is the biggest piece of advice you would just give a new collector on art blocks?
Ask questions. The community is so down to help you with almost any question you have. If you ask it in the wrong place, it's not a big deal. Somebody will point you towards the better place to ask it if you need to move. But basically, yeah, just like don't hesitate to admit that you don't know something. And I think that the community is like there to support people and guide them through this journey. Personally, I'm working on this wiki so that even if you're not very outgoing and maybe you're afraid to ask questions, there will be this resource that you can browse, and there'll be a lot of information available that you can consume kind of on your own at your own pace. But again, just like, yeah, don't be afraid. Don't worry about like coming off as um, just like an outsider. Like, get involved. If you can put yourself out there, I think you'll have a very rewarding experience, and the community is like ready to embrace people. So just like, yeah, I guess that would be my main message.
Cool. I think I completely agree that, reaching out to the community, people are super helpful, especially the artists. If you have questions about a specific project or whatever, go into the artist channel and just be like, hey, like, this doesn't make sense to me. Can somebody please explain? And, maybe the artist isn't there because of a time zone difference, but, I guarantee you there's going to be somebody else that can chime in and help you out. And, if you're just unsure where to even start, just jump in the general channel and be like, hey, how do I mint something or whatever? And like, people are, everyone started at some point, and everyone was new at some point. So I think it's so important to understand that, like, hey, we all experience that. Like, why don't we help out somebody else? And I think the Art Blocks community just does a really great job at that. But yeah, thanks so much, dbochman. I really love your gallery space and just your sets. I think just everything you put together, or everything you minted, it just sounds like it's just been total gold. And yeah, we just look forward to seeing any future sets you build over time.
Awesome. Much appreciated. And to anyone listening, feel free to reach out on Discord if you'd like to chat. I'd be happy to help with anything.
Awesome. Thanks again, dbochman. Yeah, before we kind of wrap things up, obviously this is a little bit of a different after dinner mints. We're not giving away Squiggled live during this episode. We don't have, the Discord on the right side of the screen, but yeah, we're just like really thankful for everyone in the community for, tuning in, listening in. Before we head out though, I don't know if Snowfro, if you have any news or information you kind of want to relay to people, since yeah, this will be aired on 4th of July.
Man, I feel like every time you ask me, I'm like, oh, I have all these things to say, but then I don't remember at any moment. Yeah, no, I don't know that I have anything super different to announce than last Sunday, which was just a couple of days ago. But everybody have a safe 4th of July. Thank you for spending your time with us on the 4th of July. And man, thank you everybody here. You guys are all so awesome. This community is so amazing. It's a dream come true for me, and hopefully for other people too, like everyone enjoying it. And so just happy to be a part of this.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank did somebody want to say something?
No, just say cool.
Oh, okay. I agree. It is very cool. So yeah, I just wanted to first off thanks Paddle141 for coming out here, talking to us about your Sotheby's purchase. We look forward to seeing you on, Twitter and Discord, just kind of like as see how things progress over the next few months as you work on a project of your own.
Yeah.
I want to thank dbochman for your incredible collection, for being just such an instrumental part of the Art Blocks community on Discord, and just, yeah, always like being super friendly in the space. I think that's just like irreplaceable, so thanks so much for being a part of that space. For Jake Rockland, aka Purple Hat, you just been, yeah, you're just like, thank you for your knowledge today and the security in the crypto NFT world, but also, as an artist, for your projects. And we will look forward to hearing about project number 3, hopefully in the next, few weeks or months. I don't want to push you in front of the bus, but yeah, definitely looking forward to that. And yeah, to Snowfro for creating the space for us and just continuing to be such a outspoken and transparent person. I know we've had, issues or, things that, obviously a lot of people in the space recently, but thank you for addressing that earlier, and just, yeah, always just like being transparent. I think that's more important than anyone else has ever done. So thank you again.
Thanks, everybody.
Cool. And with that, I just want to say be excellent to each other, and we'll see you next week. Hope you have all a great day and night.
Okay.
Thanks again. Bye,
Happy
everybody.
4th of July.
Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th, everyone.